In episode 5 of House of the Dragon Season 2, we heard a lot of outrageous sexist remarks.
But the Dowager Queen is a woman.
At a time when we must show strength.
What would it say if in response to Rhaenyra's crowning we raised up a woman of our own?
The people who support her will not be led by her. They look to a man for strength.
It is merely that the gentler sex, heretofore, has not been much privy to the strategies of battle.
The difference between hilt and foible. And they know it.
Don't worry, Rhaenyra, the story will show that knowing the difference between hilt and foible doesn't help these men win a war, as is shown by Daemon's situation right now. Daemon is accustomed to using violence to his end.
The hour is late, and my dragon is hungry. You have no choice but to submit.
Yes, Daemon, just keep being stupid and childish. After failing to subdue the Brackens with the threat of dragonfire, he resorts to darker and more despicable means in order to raise an army. And as we see later, this would only come back and bite him in the ass.
And dragon or no, we shall not raise our banners for a tyrant.
This shows the futility of violence and the strength of the people. Indeed, throughout the show we are constantly reminded of the fact that while the nobilities and the men make war, it is small folk, the women and the children, that suffer. In contrast, Rhaenyra proves her wisdom and ability as a better ruler. Like she said, she uses reason, not force. From her talk with Baela and with Alfred, we can see she does have some diplomatic skills, getting Collis aboard as her hand through Baela, and successfully getting rid of the gruff knight Alfred, while letting him sound out on Daemon. She also delights in the 3-minute gear-to-gear conversation with Visenya, for, as the show clearly believes, only women understand women. Rhaenyra takes Visenya's idea and sends Lady Linda to King's Landing, supposedly to make the people there more resentful against the Green's rule. Daemon, still having more illusions at Harrenhal, his dream with his mom is actually not that distasteful as many say. This scene pushes his inner struggle to another level, telling us that the conflict first brought up in episode 1, season 1, that is, the sibling rivalry between him and Viserys, and the question of succession is still not resolved. Note that Daemon's mom in this illusion does not have the look of Alicent Targaryen, as described in the book. In the book, Alicent Targaryen is the first rider of Malice. She married Prince Balon at 15, gave birth to Viserys at 17, had Daemon at 21, and died at 24. So Daemon doesn't have any memory of his mother because she dies when he's only 3. So it doesn't matter if the imagined mom looks like the one describing the book or not, because it's only Daemon's imagination. That's also why Alice Rivers said,
"It's a pity, don't you think, that you never knew your mother?"
One thing that strikes me as a little bit strange is that whenever Daemon has these illusions, he seems to be hesitating, regretting, doubting himself. So as a viewer, I would expect him to know better or to restrain more after having these hallucinations. Yet when he wakes up, he always decides to follow his ambition, pushing further and further, now openly raising war for his own claim instead of for Rhaenyra's.
You should address me as my king.
And then we see Daemon turn into a contractor and try to get his hands dirty by doing some solid work. Here he again talks to Alice Rivers. Whenever he talks with Alice Rivers, it is a bit strange. I still don't know why Alice is here, what her purpose is, and what her intentions are with Daemon. I just hope in these scenes she and Daemon don't suddenly start kissing each other. It's always a nervous moment when I see them together, but so far, thank goodness, they do not kiss. By the way, Simon's expressions whenever Daemon does something stupid are so funny. They make perfect emojis for people who work for a volatile, unpredictable, and unreliable boss. And then on the Green side, I understand that Rook's Rest is not far from King's Landing, but since they know Aegon II is still alive, the right thing to do would be to rush him back for treatment, for any delay might mean the difference between life and death. But they're just carrying him so slowly in this crate. I know the show is trying to build suspense, letting both Alicent and the audience wonder how Aegon II is, while he's being so slowly carried back. This vibe between Alicent and her two sons also doesn't feel right. Like if my son is carried home in an iron crate, I would be rushing over first time to ask how he is and why he's put in a horrific crate. And also Alicent's relationship with Daemon. Later, Alicent asks Kristen Cole what part Aemond played in the injury of Aegon II. She laments what Aemond has become. This to me is a strange vibe between mother and son. Why not ask your son himself? Like, Alicent really should have a conversation with Aemond. If I remember it right, the last conversation between Alicent and Aemond is still this.
Do not mourn me, mother. It was a fair exchange. I may have lost an eye, but I gained a dragon.
Alicent seems to have lost the motherly power over her son, and Aemond sees her only as a rival, not a mom. Maybe he's found another mom here? Aemond's change is another thing I want to talk about. We see him being bullied by Aegon II when he was little. We see him risk his life to tame a dragon more than once. We see him study a lot, seeming to be preparing himself to rule. Then we see him remain quite loyal to his big brother when he's grown up. And then we see this. To me, this change is a bit sudden. When did he become so hard-hearted and power-driven? A moment ago he was at the brothel, talking about how he actually regrets killing Luke. But then this. One explanation is that Aegon II still bullies him, and he actually resents Aegon II. There is a moment in the brothel scene in episode 2 where I believe all the viewers would be surprised by how Aemond just puts up with Aegon II without fighting back or doing anything. So maybe it is in this moment that Aemond decides to get rid of his big brother if he's given the chance. Again, we don't know. Just like his mother Alicent, we as viewers don't know either if Aemond's always been like this, or he's changed at some point. Aemond injuring Aegon II is not his plan, but he did choose to wait a bit before joining the battle. He did instruct Vhagar to breathe fire to the direction of Aegon II, and he was squatting there beside Aegon with his sword unsheathed. So we don't know if he was thinking about finishing off Aegon. I guess we'll never know. The screenwriters of this show loves ambiguity. They use these little games to add twists to the plot. I guess whenever they themselves cannot decide how to let the story unfold, they add a little bit ambiguity, or put better, multi-interpretability. Say Daemon instructing the death of a young prince. It is never clarified exactly what happened, and the show does not intend to clarify anyway. Alicent's claim to regent is easily rebutted by the small council. Here she sits still for quite some time. I don't think she's having a panic attack, as many say. She's disappointed in Larys and Kristen Cole for not supporting her. And then she becomes so speechless when she hears Aemond instructing the city gates to be closed. She certainly thinks she would rule better, but she does not come to this council well prepared to really win the claim. It's like in the very beginning she knows Aemond would win. And Corlys, poor man, can you imagine what this man went through? He lost his son, his daughter, and now his wife. Remember when Lena dies, Viserys said to Daemon, "The god has been cruel to you." And Daemon then said, "It seems they have been especially cruel to you, because Viserys lost his wife and son." Well, it seems the gods are the cruelest to Corlys. I just can't help thinking about this from a feminist perspective. Alicent lost one grandson and thinks it's a curse because she's sleeping with Kristen Cole. If likewise, Corlys should be thinking the loss of his children and wife are punishments for his affair and bastard sons. Well, of course he isn't, because he's a guy, not a woman. Here, Rhaenyra is reading about Visenya, the most fierce female fighter, sister and wife to Aegon the Conqueror. She uses Dark Sister and Rise Vhagar. Rhaenyra is trying to find inspiration from her, and is instantly offended when Viserys suggests she'd better not emulate Visenya. When asked why, Viserys simply says because it was a long time ago. Here, Viserys is perhaps only thinking about Rhaenyra's safety, and suggesting to her not to put herself in danger by going into battle herself. Rhaenyra feels offended because she takes it as another remark from a male that undermines the strength and damaging power of women. She's pissed off because the entire day she's been told that women are not made for war by the men on her council. Viserys first intends to go to Harrenhal to treat with Daemon. This tension between Jaehaerys and Daemon could be well seen in episode 10, season 1. No wonder, since Jae is the rightful heir to Rhaenyra, and Daemon, his great-uncle/stepdad, is once a possible heir to Viserys, and also someone with great ambition. We also see Aemond staring at the throne and Helaena asks him if it's worth it. Helaena seems to be the only one apart from Kristen Cole to know what really happened at Rook's Rest, and this makes her the most clear-headed one on the Greens. So please get Otto back to the Greens so they can really make some sense. And so far, seeing Aegon II being injured like this, I have really grown to like him a lot. He essentially is good, and he wants to be a good king, wants to be a good father and good son. At last, the top 3 scenes in this episode. Jaehaerys talk to the phrase,
For that, my mother will want more than your crossing.
Baela's talk with Corlys,
Rhaenys was not only your wife, not a thing to be taken from you. She was a Targaryen princess.
and this little puppy. The episode ends at Rhaenyra and Jaehaerys talking about finding more dragon riders. A lot to expect. See you next time. Bye bye.